What is the greatest empowerment that you can give to another person? So I was listening to a podcast of a woman who's a therapist and great advice dealing with children in particular, but it's good all around. And when someone shares with you something, and the first thing you say to them, thank you for sharing that with me, especially to a child, but even to an adult, and maybe when they're sharing with you something that's, not pleasurable to hear, but you say thank you. That's a great empowerment that you give to that person. Great humility and vulnerability that a person has that they can say that. Again, especially if they're sharing something that's not, appealing. What an empowerment that is. The Alter Rebbe empowers us in such a way that he believes that we could be not merely BITs, Beinani in training, but that we could be a Beinani. He believes in me and you. That's what we're learning over here. That's a great empowerment. That we can have mastery over every action of ours, every communication of ours, every cogitated, meditated, willful thought of ours. Whoa, that's an amazing empowerment. Welcome to Tanya Today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zechon Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We begin today, chapter 37. Thanks. In chapter 37, of course, is a continuation of chapter 36, which is a continuation of chapter 35. And chapter 35, we started a new area of teachings of what is the purpose of the Beinani and us, the BIT, the Beinani in training. What is our purpose? So, what we have come to is understanding that we have the power to create the light of God that should embrace us every time we do a mitzvah, like we're doing now in studying Torah. And that light of God is what God ultimately wants us to be, a dwelling place in this world, that he becomes comfortable in this world. That he becomes welcome in our lives, welcome in the world, and meaning the material world, not the spiritual world merely, but the material world that is a vessel for the divine. And that's the ultimate purpose. And when will that ultimate purpose be fulfilled? Mashiach. Because what will happen, Mashiach? All evil will be eradicated. And the presence of God will be palpable and real. So much so that as a result of that, there won't be any more war. There won't be any more famine. There'll be plenty for all. Because the presence of God is palpable and real. We already had that experience once, of being palpable and real. That was at Mount Sinai. But the problem with Mount Sinai, when God gave us the Torah, it didn't last but 40 days because it came from above. It was God that showered his presence upon us, and it was so powerful that our souls took flight. We weren't able to take the revelation of the divine. And that's what happened. then. So we have some experience of it. We have a collective experience of it, right? And an individual experience because our souls were there. So the ultimate purpose of creation is God's presence in this world, and that will be in times of Mashiach. So Mashiach isn't a, a gift. It isn't um, a reward, but it's a direct result. What's it a result of? So that's what the ultimate picks up over here. At the ultimate perfection of the times of Messianic era, and the times when there'll be Tchias Mesim, resurrection of the dead, when the Ein Sof light of God will be revealed in the material world. That reality. How's it going to happen? Well, this is the ultimate empowerment. It's dependent on our actions and our divine service throughout the time of exile. Yes, it was initiated by God at Mount Sinai, but that was only an initiation and it didn't last. Why? Because it came from above. It didn't come from our efforts. God revealed. Now, through the last 3,300 and more, 300 plus years since Mount Sinai, since that revelation, we are going to create that reality. How are we going to do that? First of all, take note that it's up to us. We're going to create that reality. God did it once, but now we got to do it. How are we going to do it? Through the mitzvah. Because the mitzvah, schar mitzvah, mitzvah, because the reward of the mitzvah is the mitzvah itself. Right? And what is the mitzvah itself? The connection to God. Right? That's what we learned. That every time you do a mitzvah, you create a light of God. That's why you have to always have good deeds. Because it creates the light of God. And we draw that revelation of the Ein Sof down into this world. And it's actually clothed in the physical reality of this world, meaning in the object that we're doing a mitzvah with. So the object that we're doing a mitzvah with, that was before you did the mitzvah, what was its reality? Klipa. It was under the realm of klipa. But now that you used it for the sake of a mitzvah, it's now under the realm of holiness and attachment to God. Its vitality is no longer from klipa. So if you're taking an animal and you're using the skin to make a mezuzah, tefillin, you've elevated that animal. Right? If you're taking vegetation, or you're taking that animal and you're using it for your Shabbos meal, you've elevated from what was previously under the jurisdiction of klipa, of a shell that covers over on the holiness, and now you're using it for the sake of God, for the mitzvah, right? You're elevating it. So tefillin, mezuzah, sefer Torah, right? It comes from a permissible animal, the skin thereof, and you're doing it for the sake of heaven, then you're taking it out of the realm of klipa and putting it into holiness, the Ein Sof light. Likewise, if you're taking from vegetation, you're taking an esrog, the citron fruit, the etrog, that you use it for making the blessing on the holiday of Sukkot, the 4 kinds. Or if you're taking money, that is, wasn't acquired through theft, because if it was acquired through theft, then you can't elevate it. You use that money and you give charity. What did you do? You then took money that is under the money. Money's alive. How's it alive? Because it's being animated by God. How's money being animated by God? Through klipa. But now if I take that money and I put it into the charity box, or I give it to someone in need or institution in need, and you give that money, what happened? That money now is its vitality is coming and elevated directly from God as opposed to klipa. So now you're taking a physical object and it's being animated in real time by God's holiness as opposed to something that is separate from God. When it was separate from God, then I could use it for, my own purposes. I could use it for selfish purposes. I could use it for evil purposes. Selfish purposes is just for my own benefit. When I do it for God's purpose, to do a mitzvah with it, then I've elevated it. Elevated means that the little reality of the physical coin is now being animated by Kedusha, by holiness. It's merged with the divine. Wow, how powerful. So what are we saying here, folks? It's all up to me to bring the final redemption. What an empowerment. Not only that I could become a Beinoni, but I have the power. Each and every one of us has the power through the mitzvahs that we do to actually change the world for good. Not just to change me, but to change the world for good. How beautiful, how empowering that is. So, what's our take home, folks? Our take home is just realize that every time you do a mitzvah, you're changing the world for good, and it's depending on me and you that we do that in order to bring the final redemption. Any questions? You say hi to Carmen in Texas, Vincent in Alberta, Tim in Texas, Liba and Davida in New York, Rabab in Tangier, Morocco, Art in Michigan, where it's snowy, Diane in Arizona, John in North Carolina, Ahmed in Egypt, Dana in, you have to remind me, Dana, Stan in London, England, Cindy in Florida, Tina in South Carolina, Mordechai in Massachusetts, Rena in Colorado, Michael in London now, Jeff in snowy Michigan, Moshe in Ohio, Zar in Malaysia, Gib, welcome. Not certain where. Di and Devorah Chana in Pennsylvania. Aryeh, formerly from Montreal, now in New York. Crown Heights, welcome. Czar, tell me where. Tell me where. Julia is in Pennsylvania. Viviana in North Carolina. I don't know, Gib, I can't answer you. Seen. Shoshana is in Muncie. Irma in St. Martin. And who else? Yeah. Uh-huh. Stephanie in Philadelphia. Stanley. All right. We have Yantadella Benta, we have Okoye in Lima, Peru, Brett in Pennsylvania, Hannah, Rebecca, Amy, and Vilma. All right, folks. Beautiful. All right, Rambam coming up. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the time. You have an amazing, great day. Thank you for joining.